Sino kaya sa AREIT, DDMPR, FILRT, RCR, and MREIT yung top real estate investment trust natin for the year 2021? First of all, I want to give credits to Mercado Barkada. Most of the data that I will present to you are from his research. So, Mercado Barkada is an email newsletter that delivers daily news content, daily juicy content about the stock market, pero presented siya in a way, in a digestible way for us. Hindi po ako paid to do this shout out, pero I just wanted to bring this to your attention, guys. Kasi minsan nakakasawa na yung bland or plain style or corporate style of writing ng mga disclosures. So, itong kay Mercado Barkada, may halong personality, may opinion, pero objective pa rin naman yung opinion niya, which I highly value. And of course, yung pinaka-importanting factor, mahilig din siya sa memes. Link to his newsletter down below. There will be 5 factors that we will be using for this comparison: occupancy rate, whale, all-time stock appreciation, dividend rate, and post-IPO P&L. So relax ka lang kasi i-explain ko yan isa-isa, and the data in this video are accurate as of December 9, 2021. And speaking of data, in this channel, we are always data-driven para maiwasan natin yung speculation. However, hindi natin makakapture lahat ng nuances or pros and cons ng mga REITs, especially yung mga respective tenant profiles nila. So the reason behind this is madaling i-compare yung numbers, for example, occupancy rate. Pero kung i-compare natin yung tenants, for example, nasa BPO industry ba siya or nasa POGO industry, magkakaiba yung views natin regarding those industries. So for example, gusto ko yung POGO or gusto ko yung BPO industry, pero kayo ayaw nyo nun. So therefore, mas magiging productive yung discussion if we just focus on the objective parts, on the objective numbers. Okay, so with that out of the way, we can proceed with our rankings. Our first criteria is occupancy rate, and this is almost self-explanatory if you are already familiar with REITs. In the context of REITs, meron tayong tinatawag na GLA or Gross Leasable Area. This is the actual office space na pinaparenta or pinapa-lease out sa mga tenants. If the occupancy rate is 100%, then that means 100% of the GLA is being rented out and is generating rental income. For this metric, higher is better. At 5th place, we have FILRT at 87% occupancy rate, so it receives 1 point. At 4th and 3rd place naman, nandyan si MREIT and DDMPR with 95% and 98% respectively. And then we have AREIT and RCR tied at 2nd and 1st place at 99% occupancy rate. And so they get 4.5 points each. I could definitely look at decimal points para hindi sila tied, pero come on guys.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
The second criteria is weighted average lease expiry or WALE, and if this is your first time hearing about WALE, then pareho lang tayo. I encountered this fairly recently lang, pero hindi naman siya as complicated as it sounds. Basically, it's just a measure of a property portfolio or a REIT portfolio's risk of going vacant. Because a REIT has so many properties under its wing, so many properties na minamanage nila, the WALE is a very convenient and very beautiful way of consolidating or pagsasama-samahin natin yung mga expiration dates para isang number lang yung titingnan. So for example, meron tayong 3 tenants. Tenant 1 occupies 10% and the lease expires in 5 years. Tenant 2 occupies 70%. The expiry naman is in 6 years. And the third tenant occupies the remaining 20% and its lease expires in 3 years. Now, calculate natin yung WALE. The formula now becomes 10% times 5 plus 70% times 6 plus 20% times 3 years. All of this equals 5.3 years. Yun yung WALE nitong hypothetical property natin. And for ranking WALE, longer is better. DDMPR has the lowest WALE at only 3 years, so 1 point lang yung ibibigay natin. The next spots go to FILRT with 3.9 years and RCR with 4.3 years. Then we will give 4 points to MREIT for second place at 4.7 years WALE. And finally, 5 points to AREIT na may outlier value of 7.7 years WALE. The third criteria is all-time stock price appreciation, pero syempre as of December 9, 2021 lang. Itong third criteria is very simple. Ano lang yung lifetime P&L of the REIT in terms of stock price. And of course, higher is better. Ranking all-time price appreciation from lowest to highest, we have DDMPR, FILRT, MREIT, RCR, and finally AREIT again in first place. The next criteria is dividend rate or dividend yield. Imagine that we have two hypothetical REITs. The first one pays out 1.69 pesos per share and the second one naman pays out 0.096 pesos per share. If face value lang nung dividends yung magiging basis natin for comparing REITs, then it makes sense to go for REIT number 1. Tama, di ba? After all, kung may tig 100 shares ako of these two REITs, then I would receive 169 pesos from the first REIT and 9.6 pesos lang from the second REIT. But let me tell you that we shouldn't be comparing the face value of the dividends, but instead we should be comparing the dividend percentages or the dividend yield. Actually guys, hindi nyo na kailangan i-imagine yung two REITs na to kasi ito mismo yung dividend payouts ni AREIT and ni DDMPR for the entire year of 2021. Oh, wait lang. I'm sure meron dyan sa inyo na may preconceived notion na mas okay sa AREIT kaysa DDMPR because of historical price action. Pero let me remind you that this fourth metric, this fourth criteria is focused on dividend yield. And I am fairly certain na masusurprise kayo sa results. Sige, I will give you 5 seconds to guesstimate kung sino sa limang to yung top 3 in no particular order. 5 seconds starts now. Okay, so if you will buy in during this period, the lowest dividend rate goes to AREIT at 3.74%, followed by RCR at 5.03%. Next is MREIT at 5.25%. At second place naman, FILRT at 5.84%. Which means top 1 si DDMPR at 6.26% dividend rate. Let me know in the comment section if tama yung nahulaan yung top 3 for dividend rate kahit na hindi exactly yung tamang order. So a few months ago, we did a video about early retirement through dividend investing. Pero one of the things that I did not mention in that video is the concept that the dividend yield is inversely correlated or inversely proportional to the stock price. What? Ano raw? What? English, math? Huh? Hindi, ganun lang yan. Simple lang yan. If the stock price drops but the dividend payout stays the same or pareho pa rin yung peso value or yung actual face value, then the dividend yield goes up. Ito yung reason kung bakit top 1 si DDMPR in this metric. Kasi bababa yung price niya, tumaas yung dividend yield. So sa kabaliktaran naman, dahil sa sobrang taas ng price appreciation ng AREIT, pero hindi proportional yung pag-increase ng dividend payout or yung actual peso value, nag-suffer naman yung dividend yield niya, bumaba. Kaya nasa last place si AREIT in this criteria. Okay, so this last round is the combination of the last two criteria, price appreciation and dividend yield. Kung mutual fund ito, then this metric, this round will be called returns since inception. And speaking of mutual funds, we have a similar video about ranking and comparison of the top 4 equity index funds available in Call Financial. So baka interested din kayo doon. DDMPR receives 1 point for having lost 16.2% of its original IPO price. And remember, priced in na dito yung dividends niya. Sunod naman ay FILRT with a decent PNL of 11.1%. Super close ng third and second places, MREIT 15.2%, RCR 15.5%. And finally, the OG REIT that started it all, AREIT bags the top place at a whopping 83.3% returns. Okay, so after 5 rounds of head-to-head battle, this is the moment that we have been waiting for. Our top real estate investment trust for 2021 is AREIT! So ayun na nga, AREIT is our top real estate investment trust for 2021, followed by RCR at first runner-up and MREIT as the second runner-up. So again guys, this entire ranking is not meant to be a buy recommendation. This is just my research and you should be careful about believing some random person on the internet. Okay, so congratulations AREIT, and don't worry guys, dinoble check, triple check ko yan, so hindi siya mako-Colombia. Pero ayun, after we produce this ranking, itong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what else can we get from this information? Ano pa yung learnings na makukuha natin from our process? So yung first one is the dividend rate does not tell the complete picture, and we already talked about this earlier, di ba? Pero we barely scratched the surface. Yung dividend rate ni DDMPR, siya yung highest among all the 5 REITs, pero it placed second to the last when it comes to the overall ranking. While si AREIT naman siya yung may lowest dividend rate, pero siya pa rin yung panalo. Bumawi siya sa fundamentals. Let me know if you agree with this following statement, pero hot take ko kasi dyan is having the Ayala name attached to the REIT, it gives a premium to AREIT. Kaya bawing-bawi siya sa fundamentals. This ranking also incorporates the true nature of a REIT. First, being a source of passive income and syempre, the ability for capital appreciation. But you already know that. Ang hindi ko pa nasabi is, if you are a purely dividend investor, then you can create your own ranking based on this ranking. Tapos, you can remove some factors like for example, yung all-time stock price appreciation. Pwede mong tanggalin yan kung purely dividend investor ka. On the other side of the coin naman, if you are a stock trader and bonus na lang sa'yo yung dividends, you can also create your own ranking by removing factors like yung dividend yield. Pwede mong gawin yon. Okay, so let's move on naman sa concrete steps on what can you do with this information. One word lang guys, diversification. We can do diversification in multiple ways, so let me give you some ideas. Here's the situation. You are still very young. Hindi mo pa top priority yung passive income. You are still very bullish on the PH economy that you would rather have your money or your investments in individual stocks. Pero naisip mo rin na it never hurts to have some predictability in terms of passive income. Then what you can do is you can allocate some of your buying power or some of your investments to one or two REITs. Here's a table of the dividend yields and expected return per quarter and per year for 3 scenarios with 50,000 pesos capital, 100,000 pesos capital, and 500,000 pesos capital. Syempre, these are not guaranteed kasi tumataas, bumababa yung price ng mga REITs. Pero if you do asset allocation, then this should help you get a more realistic sense kung ano yung potential na pwede mong makuha from these REITs. Here's idea number 2. You can build a dividend investing portfolio. So for example, meron kang 100,000 pesos na capital tapos gusto mong gamitin yung 50-30-20 asset allocation. Ito yung first scenario, kung 50% AREIT, 30% RCR, and 20% MREIT, then your actual cost would be around 94,000 pesos and you would receive 4,200 pesos annually, which translates to 4.43% dividend yield. Sa next scenario natin, mas malaki yung RCR at 50%, AREIT at 30%, while MREIT stays at 20%. Yung actual cost mo is 96,000 pesos, so the annual dividend would be around 4,500 pesos and the dividend yield goes up a bit to 4.69%. Okay, so one more example, if you want to take advantage of MREIT, kasi siya yung pinakabata, siya yung youngest among the 5 REITs, then allot ka ng 50% to it, 30% to RCR, and 20% to AREIT. Your cost will go up to 97,700 pesos, pero your annual dividend payout goes up then to about 4,700 pesos. And that's a dividend rate of 4.89%. So between these 3 REITs, pinakamataas yung individual dividend rate ni MREIT. So natural lang na as we allot more capital to MREIT in this dividend investing portfolio, tataas din yung dividend rate mo. Yun lang guys, let me know if you want more of these kinds of videos na parang nag-rank tayo ng mga similar asset classes, similar stocks, similar REITs, ganyan. I'll see you on the next one. Pagod.